and welcome to E&I UK and Europe edition. I'm Ashley Espiritu reporting from London. We bring you news reports from the United Kingdom and Europe, and we have live reporters on standby ready to give their reports. First, from our headline. UK's Boris Johnson faces more anger after backtracking on rail plans. AstraZeneca announces robust results from anti-COVID-19 drug trial. And European Medicines Agency says Europe must close the gap on vaccinations. From our lifestyle reporters, we have Arian Celestino and Eric Samuel Celestino giving us a tour of London's Tate Britain Museum. In EBC Germany, John Pabustan reports 16 years of Merkel. For our sports news, our sports correspondent Ryan Florentino reports on how Swiss tennis player Roger Federer plans to return one last time before completing his impressive tennis career. And of course, our view from our window coming from Rome's coliseum. Under fire, British Prime Minister Boris Johnson was on Thursday accused of betrayal as his government scaled back rail plans in northern England despite announcing an unprecedented £96 billion investment for the region. Johnson is already reeling from a raft of misconduct allegations against his MPs and risks further damaging headlines by backtracking on a key pledge made during his successful 2019 election campaign for a new rail line between the north hubs of Manchester and Leeds. The Prime Minister had promised a new Trans-Pennine rail route between Manchester and Leeds as part of the Northern Powerhouse Rail project to improve links between major northern cities. But Transport Minister Grant Shapps announced on Thursday that much of the existing line would be upgraded rather than being replaced as part of the £96 billion package. He also announced that plans to extend the new high-speed HS2 line from the East Midlands of England to Leeds would be shelvaged. The money will instead be used to upgrade tracks and services between London and the Midlands, between the Midlands and Manchester, and in Yorkshire. Shapps called the plan one of the biggest single acts of levelling up of any government in history, referring to the government aim to address economic inequality between the north of England and London and the southeast. It would bring the North and Midlands closer together and fire up their economies in rival London, he added, and Labour finance spokeswoman Rachel Reeves, an MP in Leeds, called the plans desperately disappointing. She said that what we are getting is tinkering around the edges rather than the proper transformation of transport in north of England. The Prime Minister responded by saying there are going to be people who always want everything at once, and there are lots of people who say, well, what we should do is carve huge new railways through virgin territories, smashing through spoiled countrysides and villages. Those extra high-speed lines take decades, and they don't deliver the community benefits that I'm talking about, the Prime Minister added. Pharmaceutical giant AstraZeneca on Thursday announced that clinical trials of an antibody-based COVID-19 drug had shown robust efficacy and long-term prevention. The Anglo-Swedish laboratory follows in the footsteps of US firms Merck and Pfizer, which announced in October and early November, respectively, that they had developed drugs that could prevent severe forms of the disease and that could be taken at the first sign of symptoms. The AstraZeneca drug, made from a combination of two antibodies, has been undergoing final stage clinical trials to assess its safety and efficacy. More than 75% of participants had comorbidities that put them at high risk for severe COVID-19 if they were to become infected, but no severe cases were recorded. Another trial to test its efficacy in treating those already suffering from the mild to moderate COVID symptoms showed that one 600 milligrams IM dose reduced the risk of developing severe illness or death by 88%. These compelling results give me confidence that this long-acting antibody combination can provide my vulnerable parents with long-lasting protection they urgently need to finally return to their everyday lives, said Hugh Montgomery, Professor of Intensive Care Medicine at University College London. Importantly, 6 months of protection was maintained despite the surge of the Delta variant among these high-risk participants who may not respond adequately to vaccination. AstraZeneca said the full results of both trials would be submitted for publication to a peer-reviewed medical journal. It has already submitted an application to US regulators for approval of the drug to treat COVID-19. AstraZeneca's separate COVID vaccine developed with the University of Oxford helped enable Britain's speedy COVID vaccination drive after it was approved in December 2020. EU's drug watchdog highlights the urgency of Europe to close the gap on vaccinations in order to stop the surge of COVID-19, as those unvaccinated is said to be driving a rise in hospitalizations. The warning from the European Medicines Agency came as the continent is once again faced with a fresh wave of the pandemic, with several countries having record cases. According to EMA Vaccine Strategy Chief Marco Cavalry, COVID cases are excessively increasing in number, including severe COVID and hospitalization or admission in the intensive care unit, particularly in the unvaccinated. According to Cavalry, some European countries still had unacceptably low vaccination rates, with a large part of the population still unprotected, including those at risk over 50s. He stresses the importance of getting as many people as possible vaccinated. He, however, warned that it was well known that there is no vaccine that is 100% effective, so other measures to stop the virus from circulating during the risky winter season should be implemented. Several EU countries have taken or are considering ways to target the unvaccinated, such as Austria, who is imposing a lockdown on those who are still not vaccinated. Nevertheless, efforts to boost the vaccine uptake and to look for new treatments are also underway. EMA said it is expected to decide as early as next week whether to approve the Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine for 5 to 11 age group as cases among children continue to surge. They will now also be looking at Pfizer's new anti-COVID pill with the full review for approval of the drug, which could take months, is expected to start next week. Cavalry said the medicine is showing some promising results. However, pharma giant Merck's rival pill could possibly get approval by the end of the year. These COVID pills are considered as potentially groundbreaking as it can be easily accessible and relatively cheaper to give as protection for at-risk people such as the elderly. In addition, monoclonal antibody treatment could continue to pave its way as drug maker GlaxoSmithKline sought approval for its own monoclonal antibody, the third one of such drug, a treatment also targeted towards the at-risk population. Time for a break, but please come back for more E&I UK and Europe edition.
Samahan ang paborito nating barkada sa umaga. Magbibigay ng saya, tawanan, at iba't ibang pakulo sa inyong umaga. Busog pa kayo sa kaalaman,
Tony knows!
at updated sa umaarangkadang mga balita. Matutong kumita, magluto, mayroon ding sayawan at kantahan.
What? I am a good girl.
Ang programa na nagbibigay inspirasyon sa bawat kada all over the world.
Here in Net25, we are your fans. Everyone!
Lunes hanggang Biyernes, alas 6 hanggang alas 8 ng umaga. Dito lang sa Net25. At home kayo rito.
Solusyon, aksyon, re-responde na ang bagong aksyonan ng bayan. Abangan! Responde! Mata ng mamamayan. Dito sa Net 25.
Hello po, ako po si Navik at may tutuparin po tayong Letters and Request ngayong Sabado po, November 20 sa Letters and Music po, 1 to 2 p.m. Dito lamang po yan sa Net 25. Kaya makita-kita po tayo.
Palengke ang takbuhan para sa mga dekalidad at mura na pamilihan. Kaya dapat ang isang palengke ay check sa kalibisan, check na tapat ang presyo, check na mababait ang mga nagtitinda rito.
Kompleto po ang mga produkto po natin dito. All palengke needs ay matatagpuan po natin dito sa Maligaya Market.
Ang mabilihin po rito, mura-mura lang po.
24 hours, meron po tayong gwardiya dito. Safe po yung mga mamimilis.
Mas mura po kasi ang renta namin dito sa Maligaya Market kaysa ibang market po.
Kasi po nakita namin, Maligaya Market po is very accessible.
Importante din po na meron kayong trusted na binibilhan ng mga pagkain para sa pamilya ninyo.
Tara na mga suki, alamin natin kung paano kikita ng malaki sa ating mga palengke. Ako po, si Robin Padilla. At ito po ang unlad, kaagapay sa hanap buhay. Sa hanap buhay!
Welcome back to ENI UK and Europe edition. I'm Ashley Spiritu. Interesting stories from around the UK and Europe this week. We go on a tour of London's Tate Britain Museum. Arian Celestino and Eric Samuel Celestino take us there. Let's take a look.
Hello everyone, I am Arian Celestino.
And I am Eric Samuel Celestino.
And right now we are in front of Tate Britain Museum. Let's check it out. As you may know, most or almost all the museums in London are free of charge, and people of all ages can visit and enjoy the historical, cultural, as well as artistic touch that each of these museums can offer. The Tate Britain is one of the best-known museums in London. It is being recognized with its prestigious and impressive galleries, which each present different collections of British art. For this reason, throughout the year, it usually holds quite a few series of exhibitions, as people up to now are really fascinated by all these creations.
If we go back in history, Tate Britain Museum opened for the first time in 1897. It is part of the Tate network of galleries in England. Among those, it is one of the oldest. Now, let's find out more about some of the galleries here in Tate Britain. In England, the first public galleries were the Diving Galleries. They were specifically designed for the display of sculpture. Also, there are some permanent spaces which are mainly dedicated to the works of William Blake and Henry Moore.
A section that people usually enjoy at the end of any of the galleries is being able to take something that would mark their visit at Tate Britain. The museum, in fact, provides shops where visitors can buy souvenirs and a wide range of products, such as books, jewelries, and many more items.
Lastly, there is also a cafeteria where you can buy something to eat or drink and relax after going all around the museum. You can rest a bit or chat with friends and family, talking about things you like during your visit at Tate, or simply just enjoy your time there.
Hi again, we just finished visiting the museum and it was really cool. We hope one day you will be able to visit it too. I am Arian Celestino.
And I am Eric Samuel Celestino, and
we live in interesting times.
Thank you, Arian and Eric, for that beautiful tour of Tate Britain. Germany is about to bid farewell to the leadership of Chancellor Angela Merkel. To tell us about her 16 years in power, here's John Pabustan. Let's watch.
After 16 years, Angela Merkel's time as the Chancellor of Germany comes to an end. On November 22, 2005, she assumed the office of the Chancellor of Germany. She is the first woman, first scientist, and the youngest person to hold the position of Chancellor of Germany. During her 16 years in power, she represented Germany through many crises, such as the Euro crisis, refugee crisis, or the current COVID-19 pandemic so far. Citizens also refer to her as Mutti, an old-fashioned German word for mom. Her most famous statement, "Wir schaffen das," or in English, "we can do this," was uttered during the refugee crisis as a message to the German citizens that Germany will handle the task of taking care of the many refugees which were escaping the Syrian war. Merkel is also known for folding her hands in a diamond shape. As her party, the Christian Democratic Union, used the diamond shape on the campaign for the 2013 general election, it became a synonym for trust and calm. At the moment, she works as acting chancellor until the new government is established and her successor is elected. I'm John Pabustan from the EBC Bureau Germany, and we live in interesting times.
Thank you for that report, John. Time for a break, but please come back for more E&I UK and Europe edition.
Yung pumasok ng pandemya, talaga sobrang dagok. Talaga grabe yung ginawa sa amin. Tapos, sasabihan pa ng sakit ng asawa ko. Ultimo gamot, ma'am. Magkano lang ang gamot? 2, 3. Hindi ko pa mabili. Siguro, magsubok lang naman to. Hindi naman siguro ibibigay sa akin to kung hindi ko kaya.
Hindi nagsasalita. Naninikip yung dibdib niya. Tapos, pumunta ka na ngayon dito, kuya.
Ano naman? Puro kabiro.
And presence of uniformed personnel to enforce quarantine procedures.
Para kang superhero, Papa.
Isipin may makakain ka lang. Diba? Sabi nila na lalabas ka. Hindi ka ba nihawa? Sana mo paglabas mo. Hindi mo alam kung nakakuha na ng sakit. Diba ganun? Ako inisip po. Kasi naman, hindi ako lumabas. Gutom naman kami.
Para sa isang tatay, napakasarap maramdaman na buong-buo ang tiwala ng iyong pamilya. Nasama-sama niyong malalagpasan at mapagtatagumpayan ang anumang hamon ng buhay. Kahit na mabigat na pagsubok ang pinagdadaanan natin, bagong pag-asa at bagong inspirasyon ang iahatid namin sa inyo.
Pinapangarap niya na mapagamot siya, ma'am. Ito na yung katuparan na para mapagamot siya. Ito na yung katuparan na para mapagamot yung misis ko, Sir Eduardo B. Manalo. Maraming salamat po sa naitulong nyo na ibinigay po sa aking pamilya.
Kaya kung kayo ay may kakilala, kaibigan o kamag-anak na nais niyong lingapin ang aming programa, ipadala niyo sa amin ang kanyang kwento. Ako po si Apple David at ito ang Lingap Stories.
Let's all get together sa pinakabagong game show ng Net25. Tara game! Agad-agad! Abangan yun! Simula ngayong November 20, may malalapitan ka na. Sisimula ng rumesponde ng bagong aksiman ng bayan. Alex Santos sa Responde, Mata ng Mamamayan, ngayong Sabado na. Simulcast sa Net25, Facebook at YouTube.
Welcome back to E&I UK and Europe edition. I'm Ashley Spiritu with interesting stories in the UK and Europe this week. In sports, Ryan Florentino brings us the latest on Swiss tennis player Roger Federer. Let's listen in.
Roger Federer is targeting a return to the circuit in mid-2022, the Swiss star said on Wednesday, hoping to play some big matches once more before completing his career. The 20-time Grand Slam champion, who turned 40 in August, is working his way back from a right knee injury that restricted him to just 5 tournaments this year. Federer said the Australian Open in January was out of the question, while participation in the French Open in May and June, and his favourite major, Wimbledon, in June and July, was highly unlikely. The truth is, I would be incredibly surprised to play Wimbledon, which is to say that Australia doesn't even come into play, he said in an interview published in the Swiss newspapers. Federer had been out for more than a year with 2 surgeries on his right knee before getting back onto the tour in 2021. After this year's Wimbledon, Federer missed the Tokyo Olympics to undergo more surgery on his right meniscus, followed by a cartilage operation. I want to go and see one last time what I am capable of as a professional tennis player, he said. We would all like that I could say goodbye in my own way and on a tennis court. And even if I know full well that the end is near, I want to try and play in some big matches again, said Federer. And that about does our sports report for this week. Reporting from the United Kingdom for E&I UK and Europe edition, I am Ryan Florentino, and we live in interesting times.
Thank you for that report, Ryan. In today's View from Our Window, we go to the historical city of Rome. One of Italy's iconic symbols is the Coliseum in Rome. This massive amphitheatre was built between 70 and 72 AD under the Roman Empire. It measures 620 by 513 feet, or 190 by 155 meters, making it the biggest ancient amphitheatre ever built in history. Inside, the Coliseum seats more than 50,000 spectators and has hosted events like gladiator fights, classical dramas, and anything to entertain the emperor and audience at the time. It is said that it is the most visited monument in Rome, with more than 5 million tourists visiting every year. This view is courtesy of Nacy Bolo. Thank you for this great view, Nacy. That's it for today's program. Stay safe and keep positive as we bring you more stories next week from the United Kingdom and Europe. I'm Ashley Spiritu, and we live in interesting times.
may pandemya, marami ang walang trabaho at mataas ang presyo ng bilihin. Isa sa nakikitang solusyon para makaiwas